A cold, snowy, shitty Thursday afternoon. Listen, I shouldn't be whining about it, but as I get older, I find that I can stand the cold weather less and less. Welcome on into the Bullpen with Adam the Bull. It is a Bull and Fox live Thursday edition. Unfortunately, because of this terrible weather, Dustin is unable to join me yet. He will join me hopefully soon, but because the roads are so bad, it's taken a little longer, so Dustin not quite here yet, but it's hopefully at some point between now and 2:30 he will join me sooner rather than later. A lot to get to on the podcast today. The Browns have hired a new OC, Jason Lloyd. Obviously put out that article in The Athletic. If you missed it, I'll recap some of the highlights or really lowlights from that. Plus a little bit on the Cavs at the end. Big game, another big game tonight as they play the Thunder in Oklahoma City, but the Thunder will be missing one of their key guys. What kind of a difference will that make, and how did it affect the point spread? We'll get to all of that coming up. Like to mention the NFL point spreads because, of course, this podcast is brought to you by Bet Rivers. And let me tell you something. I know a lot of you, and I appreciate it, are watching the podcast daily. Not daily. I'm not on every day, but multiple times a week. If you haven't signed up with Bet Rivers, please do so. Great opportunities for you with the Bet Rivers app. It's really easy to use. I click on the NFL tab. Here I am looking at the 4 playoff games for this weekend. I got some other interesting things going on with Bet Rivers specifically and some things for you that we'll talk about probably over the next couple of months. We'll get into it. But if you haven't joined Bet Rivers yet for your sportsbook needs, you're missing out. We have great coverage of all the sports, a lot of shows. If you're interested in the New York take, we've got Mike Francesa. We've got our, there's just a lot of different shows out there that are really good. We're doing a lot of good things here at Bet Rivers. So be a part of it and sign up today. And here he is. He's made it through the snow. Dustin Fox joins me for the Bull and Fox edition.
Hey, buddy.
All right.
I did make it. Yeah.
How are the roads out there? Still bad, huh?
Yeah, not great. Actually, worse down where I'm at. It was fine getting out of downtown Cleveland, but once I got down to Summit County, it was like brutal. So I literally just walked in the door and threw my coat down and opened my laptop. So here I am.
Perfect timing. And let's get right into it. Let's start with the Browns making the decision to stay within the team for their offensive coordinator. What is your take on Tommy Rees, the former Fighting Irish quarterback, being named, being promoted from tight end coach to offensive coordinator?
Well, listen, the one thing I would say about, this job is like everyone knows that it's not like a coveted job to be the OC here in Cleveland. Number one, we know it's Cleveland, and the success or lack of success that they've had doesn't make it that appealing of a job. And then you also, on the other hand, that Kevin Stefanski is going to most likely take the play calling duties back this upcoming season. That's why he's here still. And so you're looking for somebody who's not going to get like all the credit, right? This past season, they threw it all on Ken Dorsey's plate, and Ken Dorsey got all the blame. Okay, well, that's not going to be the case with Tommy Rees because Tommy Rees is going to come in here and work alongside Kevin Stefanski and try to collaborate their offense and get back to what they did when they had success when Baker Mayfield was here and when Joe Flacco and other quarterbacks had success prior to Deshaun Watson. So I like the move. I love Tommy Rees. I mean, I don't really know. I've never met the guy. I don't know him personally, but I've heard great things about him. People in my industry, college football, rave about this coach, and other coaches talk about him too. So it's a good hire. Nick Saban has said raving things about Tommy Rees, who spent some time with the Crimson Tide. So I just think that it means that Stefanski's going to do hopefully a better job getting back to his roots of calling the plays. And he's got a young kid who's going to work alongside him, and he's a former quarterback, played at Notre Dame, cup of coffee in the league. Like, he knows the position and how to play the position. So having him as the OC and also to work alongside those quarterbacks. And by the way, we don't know who the hell is going to play quarterback. It's going to be vital to have someone like Tommy in the building, and then to have him on board as the OC. I think it's a nice move. I think it's probably the only move that they could have made at this point.
Yeah, I know you and I both heard a clip of Nick Saban just going on and on that you referenced there about being one of the smartest young coaches in college football at the time. And Mike Vrabel was reportedly interested in bringing him to New England as an offensive coordinator. North Carolina, before eventually hiring Bill Belichick, had apparently been interested in him being their head coach. So yeah, there's a lot of respect on this guy, and it's interesting. Maybe Mike Vrabel wasn't going to hire him. I don't know, but because Mike Vrabel's a defensive guy, it's possible that that Mike Vrabel would not, or had Mike Vrabel hired him as the offensive coordinator, that Mike Vrabel would have let him call plays. Right. So it's interesting that he decided to stay here when there was the possibility that he might have been able to call plays potentially in New England.
That's actually a really good point. Really good point. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I like the hire though. I mean, I think it's a good hire. Hopefully, things get turned around back here in Cleveland where they can have some stability to this franchise because, we talked about this. Our colleague Jason Lloyd wrote that scathing piece, which is not. Yeah, we'll talk about it, but it's nothing new. Is my point. Like, you'd think that this is a bombshell. It's not.
No,
it's not. It's like status quo, frankly.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because there was somebody who said to me, because there were some people criticizing, because you always going to piss somebody off, and people are stupid sometimes. But
sometimes
there was people like criticizing Jason for the article, and our old buddy Nick Fink, who's always taking shots at people these days. He goes, well, we didn't learn anything in this article. I said, well, you did learn things. Don't say you didn't learn anything. You didn't know that Deshaun Watson got death threats. You didn't know that, Kevin Stefanski didn't call him out and this and this and that. And then he changed it to, and some other people were like, well, there was nothing earth-shattering. Well, Jason will tell you there was nothing earth-shattering because at this point, can there be anything earth-shattering? You and I have been covering this team for a decade and a half. I mean, what's there left to be earth-shattering about the Browns? They've done every ass backwards thing the entire time we've been covering them.
I was joking with someone I was talking to yesterday about this, and you'll get this because we were on the air together at the time. When the Condoleezza Rice stuff came down, we all were like, this is a joke. But the reality is, with the Browns, anything like that could be real. And I'm being a little sarcastic and saying that tongue in cheek. But dude, there's nothing. We've seen and heard it all. And 80% of the stuff that we've heard and know factually happened in that building, we don't talk about because you can't talk about it.
There's so much shit with this organization. It's unbelievable. But
by the way, a lot of that information that we've been given or heard or seen throughout the last 15 years of covering this team, it's like, I don't know. Because some people be like, well, they'd be like, we're just trying to crap on the Browns. It's not that at all. It's that the organization continues to trip over their own genitalia.
Yeah. I think some fans don't get it because they think you're purposely being negative and whatever is that.
Right.
It's better for business if the Browns do well. If they're playing playoff games and they're playing meaningful football, that's, if nothing else, beyond being a fan, this is better for business for the team to be good. But anyway, specifically talking about some of the stuff from Jason's article in The Athletic. If you haven't read it, check it out. But here's one when it comes to Deshaun Watson. You see Stefanski avoided criticism of Deshaun Watson. This was to me an indictment of Kevin Stefanski, and this is a huge mistake he made. For those who don't know what we're talking about here, Jason reported that in team meetings this year, in film sessions, in front of the whole team, that Kevin Stefanski was handling the mistakes by Deshaun Watson with kid gloves to the point where he'd call other guys out, including all quarterbacks in the past, including Jameis later in the year, for things that he would not call out Deshaun Watson for. This is stunning to me that this took place, and this makes Kevin Stefanski look bad. It's a mistake. Ultimately, he's not being fired for this mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's more good than bad when it comes to Kevin Stefanski, but man, this is a big black mark on his resume, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't know how to take that part of the thing because it seems so out of character for Kevin Stefanski to do that I just would like to know, because I wasn't there and I didn't see it. I know some of the stuff comes from players and people in
Yep.
the building. So it's like I trust that Jason got all factual information, but you know how it is sometimes when it gets to the second or third person, it can be a little bit more than what it was. I just find it hard to believe that it would be that noticeable. Um, and again, maybe it was, and it to me it just would be so surprising because I don't think Stefanski. Nothing I've heard about Kevin in the years that he's been here, or even prior to him being here, would suggest that he would be that way. So I'm surprised
Yeah.
by that.
It's
Does that make
shocking.
sense?
Yeah, of
Does that
course.
make sense to you? Okay.
I was
Yeah.
surprised. Now, Jason had mentioned this to me probably a month ago or whatever. I had heard it from him already. We just didn't say anything about it because he was going to write this article, and I certainly wasn't going to spill the beans. But he had mentioned it to me, so I've had some time, unlike a lot of other people, to kind of I knew this was coming at some point because Jason had told me about it. But it is stunning, and it and it just feels like in a way that Kevin Stefanski was so frustrated by maybe powers that be forcing some things on him that he just threw his hands up. Now, I would say, well, he should have pushed back against it's because it feels like he's now pushing back against whether it's Jimmy Haslam or Deep Podesta or whatever, that now he's going to push back against those guys.
Mhm.
And that's the impression I got from his press conference the other day. But, and so maybe this was just part of the frustration that he was dealing with, and he's learned from that lesson, and maybe he realizes he made a mistake. I don't know. But yeah, it's very confusing. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and that's okay, but I just certainly hope that those stories that we heard about and like that sort of teaching coaching behavior, if it was prevalent in the building last year, like we got to get that crap out of here. That can't happen. This season.
Yep. Yeah, I think I froze up there a couple times. Did I freeze up?
Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't
No,
tell.
not you. I think I froze up. So I don't know.
Oh,
Hopefully not. But anyway, I usually have no problems with my internet. I have the best internet in my man cave. Oh, okay, good. Well,
okay.
blame me. It's all right. Put it on me. Let's talk about some other things from Jason's article. In addition to the Watson thing, let's talk about this. Was another thing that was stunning to me. Also, is that apparently, like when Bill Callahan or when Brian Callahan, Bill's son, got hired by the Titans, and then not too long after that, Bill Callahan left the Browns and went to work with his son. And I think we all just said, okay, that makes sense. The Browns let him go because he wants to go coach with his son. You can't stand in his way for that. Well, there's some truth there. Obviously, he wanted to coach for his son on a certain level. But Jason reported, and by the way, I spoke to someone else yesterday who confirmed the same thing. And they said that, and Jason said that Bill Callahan was initially, even when his son got the job with Tennessee, was going to stay in Cleveland. And then when the Browns fired Alex Van Pelt, and again, the thought is, whether it's 100% true or not, it seems very likely that the firing of Alex Van Pelt was forced above Kevin Stefanski's head.
No doubt.
And that led to Bill Callahan saying, you know what? I think I will go with my son. And if that's the case, and again, people say, well, as somebody said to me, well, the Titans, and I even said this early in the season, well, the Titans' offensive line wasn't that great. Well, okay, that may be fair. Bill Callahan's not a miracle worker. He's not going to fix every offensive lineman. But losing Bill Callahan was more than just his coaching of the offensive line, which he did a great job. He was also a nice counterbalance for Kevin Stefanski because Kevin Stefanski's really chill and nice guy, and Bill Callahan's more of a hard ass. And he was the run game coordinator, and everything with the run game completely fell apart this year, and everything with the offensive line completely fell apart this year. And at least some of that is because you got to believe because Bill Callahan left. And it didn't have to
Oh
be that
yeah,
way.
yeah. Oh, no doubt, no doubt. I think Callahan was a huge loss for this team. And you said it best there. It wasn't just his coaching ability; it was like his personality that he clashed a little bit with the style of coaching of Kevin Stefanski.
Right.
He's more brash. I think the offensive linemen really respected him. I think there's a lot of other players in the team that really respected him too. And so you take out a voice like that and a guy who's is hardened and rigid, and you just like you feel like strong when you got people like that around. He's gone, right?
Yeah.
And then the team just sort of goes into this tailspin. I think there's a correlation there. I really do.
Oh yeah, I mean there has to be. Is because even the year before when they won 12 games and they got to the playoffs, they had a ton of injuries on the offensive line that year. Nick Chubb missed most of the season. Now they weren't great at running the ball, but they were at least serviceable the year before.
Mhm.
This year they were hideous, and the offensive line not amazing in 2023, but it was good enough. I mean, especially down the stretch with Flacco getting rid of the ball quickly, it was certainly good enough. And then, obviously that all changed. One other thing I wanted to hit on from Jason's column uh, is now I can't remember the Joe Flacco. Speaking of Joe Flacco, so Jason heard from somebody inside the building that Joe Flacco picked up the offense quicker in 30 days. In 30 days, picked up the offense better than Deshaun Watson did in 3 years. I guess based on how Deshaun played, that doesn't seem surprising, but that's kind of crazy.
It is. It is crazy to think that. Again, I guess the people that are saying this, did they have predetermined thoughts about Deshaun? Did they not like
That's
Deshaun?
fair.
Because you just want to know. Because like,
Yeah.
is this an unbiased opinion, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Deshaun probably doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt on anything, but like when this stuff comes out, like you just don't know.
That's true.
Especially when you're talking about like somebody's like mental capacity, like I just don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, it seems like it would correlate because the offense on the field was garbage, right?
yes.
So that would track.
Yeah, and the
However,
offense was
I have no idea. I mean,
yeah.
like some people have said that he had a hard time with Bill O'Brien in Houston as well. I don't know.
And Joe Flacco obviously played. Now, Joe turned the ball over way too much, and he didn't really get blamed for that at all. Like we got so caught up in them making the playoffs, and Joe was a
Yeah,
nice guy, and we liked him, that everybody gave him a pass for all the interceptions until the playoff game. And the way he was throwing picks was not sustainable over a whole season. But obviously, the offense looked way, way, way better with him. And then, at least initially, it happened again this year that the offense looked way, way better with Jameis than it did with Deshaun Watson. Now, at this point, it doesn't matter. Deshaun's out of the picture.
yeah.
They'll keep him on IR all this year, and they'll probably cut him after next season, or I don't know. Maybe they'll have to keep him on the roster for one more year. Who knows? But now it goes to what they're going to do and what quarterback they're going to get. I wanted to throw a guy by you. Now they're going to draft a quarterback. We don't know what
I think
round.
so.
Probably in the first round, but they'll draft a quarterback at some point. And I was talking with Mary Kay on the podcast on Monday. I think it was Monday. Or was it yesterday? No, it was yesterday. I was talking to Mary Kay yesterday, and I threw this name at her, and she liked it. So I thought I'd throw it at you as well. And I know this guy, not personally, but I know him. I think a guy I'd like to see them bring in, especially if they draft a guy in the first round. Now, we may not, but the Browns, by March, when free agency starts, the Browns will probably know at that point if they're drafting a quarterback in the first round, I would think. But if they're going to draft a quarterback, especially in the first round, I think Andy Dalton is a great fit as the veteran backup. And here's why. First of all, you don't have to pay him a lot. Number two, he's unlike some of these other guys like Kirk Cousins, he's been a backup for a number of years, and he's worked with a lot of young quarterbacks. And the last 2 years, he's been with Bryce Young in Carolina.
Mhm.
And you see how Bryce Young, when he got his another chance, Bryce Young played well second half of the year. I think it's under the radar because the Panthers are so bad, but he played much better. I only know it because I had him on my fantasy team, so I'd watch him play sometimes. And he played much better. And he specifically said after the season, man, I hope we can bring Andy Dalton back. Like, how many times do you hear a young quarterback say that about a veteran, right? Like,
No,
they
it's
usually
rare.
wouldn't care. So he's obviously been a good influence on Bryce Young. Why couldn't Andy Dalton be a good influence? And if Andy Dalton's the type of quarterback still, I think, that if you need him to play 3-4 games, He'll play solid football for you. Yeah. If you need him the whole season, okay, you're in trouble. But most backup quarterbacks, you need him for a whole season. What do you think about Dalton as the veteran route they go?
Totally fine with that. I mean, anybody who's got has experience and has had success in the league as a starter, especially like towards the back end of their career, like I'm totally good with that. Like Andy
Yeah.
Dalton at this point is just hanging on the league by trying to be that backup, and maybe he gets some spot starts because of injury or what have you. But I like that name. I do.
Yeah.
I like that name a lot.
Would you, if you're the Browns, let's say you're not well, either way, whether you're convinced about the top quarterbacks or not, are you playing in the Sam Darnold waters? Even if like maybe at a 1-year contract, if you could get him for that. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think
I'm
he's
not
the best
buying.
guy? Best free
Yeah, by
agent?
far.
Yeah.
By far. Like not even close.
And it
And
doesn't
I'm not going
scare
to let
you
the
how he
last
played at the end of the season. Okay,
I'm not going to let the last 2
Yeah.
weeks scare me off of this dude, man. Like there's other circumstances that factor in. I've heard Dan Orlovsky talk a lot about this. And not that he's an apologist or I'm trying to be an apologist. I just think
Yeah.
that I'm not going to overreact to a couple of games when the guy has put together, a legitimate season. I mean, his body of work this year, 14 games were really good for the most part. You know what I mean? And yeah, he made some poor decisions in those games. He also played like some pretty darn good teams. Like the Rams defense, we know that's a good team. It's a
Yeah.
really good defense. They get after the quarterback. He was sacked like 1,700 times.
Yeah, now some of that was his fault because he held on to the ball too long. But yes,
I don't disagree with that at all. But I'm just saying, like, Sam Darnold's a starting quarterback in this league.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about it.
At least for next year. For next year, he is.
Right. And I'll tell you this, especially if you like Shador and Cam, let's say the Browns are like, we're taking whichever of those two is there at 2. Well, having Sam Darnold allows you to 100% more than any other quarterback not rush those guys in before they're ready.
Mhm.
Because both those guys are going to have some growing pains, and maybe they're better off not playing till week 6 or week 8 or week 10, or maybe not till the following year. I don't know. I know that's unusual with a guy picked 2nd overall, but like look at we'll just use the example of Michael Penix this year.
Sure.
He was the 5th quarterback. Now, Bo Nix went in right away and played great. Who knows? But Michael Penix got a chance to sit, didn't play till later in the year. He was considered kind of a raw guy. And maybe he would have been great week 1. I will never know. But, by the time he played, after sitting behind a veteran, he played pretty well down the stretch for the Falcons. Well, I don't know what his future is, but I just think it's to have that option of not having to play a guy until he's ready is a good option to have for the Browns.
No doubt. I am of the mindset that unless this guy has played a ton of college football, like I want these guys to mostly have a chance to learn.
Yeah.
What is Joe Flacco a free agent? Bring him back.
He is. You could bring him back next year. It's a possibility too. But you see the odds there for the first overall pick. It's not overwhelming at this point. Cam Ward is minus 125 at Bet Rivers to go first overall to the Titans. Shador Sanders plus 100. And then Travis Hunter, a somewhat distant third at plus 1,000. There's no way a quarterback's not. The Titans are not going to not take a quarterback, right? I mean, do you see any way that happens?
Yeah.
I
don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. All right. Let's get some fan comments and then a couple minutes on the Cavs before we say goodbye. 05er says, any new fans, 100 combo commentators, etc. ever. They both have gut instincts and knowledge of sports. I love them both. Also happy to see them back where they belong. I think that's he's talking about us. I'm pretty sure. Chris Gillespie called you the abominable Foxman instead of the abominable snowman, which is a hard word to say.
Thank you.
Chris also says, I think Rees is going to bring huge support and help to Stefanski. I think we're all in agreement on that.
Yep.
BA says the shadow cabal of the Cleveland Browns. I don't know who that is. But anyway, D. Yates,
The
great
cabal.
to see. Yeah, it's an ominous word. Great. BA says, what do you say? I'm sorry, D. Yates. Great to see you guys back together again, even if it's just once a week or so. You never know. Could be more in the future. Chris says, I agree with Fox. It's possible it's not as dramatic as it sounds in terms of the Watson in the film room. Let's see. Chris says, I wonder if Dorsey's hiring helped make up Bill's mind. Make up Bill's mind. No, Dorsey was going to control line direction. Oh. Yeah, well, that factored in, sure. Running SoCal MN. I don't know. MN. Oh, Minnesota was a pretty solid team all around. So I think that helped Darnold. Sure. It certainly helps to have Justin Jefferson as your number one wide receiver. And they had a pretty good running game. Kevin says, did you see Chuck Pagano compared Will Howard to Big Ben? What do you think about Will Howard as an NFL quarterback?
Never once thought about it, honestly, because I just
Really?
thought he was a really good college quarterback. Yeah, and they didn't throw the ball all that well earlier in the year.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen in, the games where they were actually able to kind of like spread it out and throw it around, against Tennessee, against Oregon, against Texas at times. I mean, I think the guy's got a chance. Like, I don't know that he's going to be a second or third round pick, but guy can play in the league. He seems like he's super smart. He's got good size. He can run. He's athletic. Like, he's got a much better chance of making it in the league than Riley Leonard.
Sure. Yeah.
Or someone of that ilk. You know what I mean?
Right.
Another quarterback on a good team, a Jackson Dart, for example, who's a hot name right now. I think that Will Howard's probably got a better chance than him.
Will Will Howard play more NFL games than Craig Krenzel or Cardale Jones?
Craig Krenzel only played like a year. I think he only played like 10 games.
Cardale was in the league a couple of years.
I mean, are we talking about games played?
Yeah, maybe service time. I don't know.
Craig Krenzel.
I feel like he's going to get drafted late, like a later draft.
Oh yeah, I think he'll get drafted for sure. You don't win the Natty and put up the numbers he has and not get a look.
Yeah. By the way, Cardale Jones, we had him on UCSS earlier this week, and he was really good at breaking down some.
He's awesome.
College
He's
football.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and he works for CBS now.
Oh, I didn't know. How did I not know that? I don't even.
He's on their pregame, halftime, postgame stuff on. I'm not sure if he's on every Saturday or if it's just CBS Sports Network or whatever. I've seen him a bunch this year. He does a nice job.
All right. Rapid fire here. Ohio State is minus 435 to win the college football title. Would that entice you to bet on Notre Dame?
Do you see the hat I'm wearing? I mean,
percentage chance they don't cover in your mind.
The spread's at what now? 8?
We got 9.5 here at Bet Rivers.
Yeah, I think they'll cover. I think they'll win by double digits.
Over under 45.5.
It's a low total for a game Ohio State's playing in.
It is.
When you get this, and the reason for it is the defenses, and it's so crazy. I could see this game being a blowout and going under. Actually, I could see it like 31-10.
Yeah, I would. I don't like betting unders, but if I had to bet, I would bet the under.
Because Ohio State, they're going to do exactly what they did against Oregon. If they get out to a fast start, like they're going to sit on the ball, which they should, by the way.
Final thing. Cavs now a 2-point dog in Oklahoma City tonight, even though Oklahoma City has no big guys playing in this game. You got the Cavs or the Thunder?
Cavaliers.
I got the Cavs in the over.
So it's funny about that is I joke with my sicko friends who are degenerates like me, and we talk about like it's a heaven for me because when your team wins and the over hits, there's nothing better because it's a fun game to watch, right? You're not rooting for the under is like the worst. It's like you got to be a masochist to do it. Yeah. And the over and the Cavs are like synonymous with every bet this year, man. They just keep hitting and hitting and hitting.
I got it. For next podcast, I got to get the stats on what the Cavs games like what their over percentage is. It's got to be ridiculous. Like what percentage of their games have gone over? It's got, especially early in the season. Yeah, this
season.
Yeah.
Oh, I can tell you that right now.
Oh yeah,
because I have a subscription.
26-15. I'm surprised. I just got it. 26-13. Just got it from Max. They're 26-13, Dustin. I would have guessed it was. on the over. I would have guessed it was even better than that. I mean, that's 67%. That's probably pretty high, but I would have guessed, because I would have thought early in the season, before anybody knew how good the Cavs were going to be offensively, that they would have gone over every game. But there you go. All right, we'll leave it there for now. Great job by Max and Z producing. Dustin, good to talk to you. We'll talk to you next week. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next time. Where else but right here in the bullpen, a Bull and Fox edition, brought to you by Bet Rivers. We'll see you next time.